Okay.
Those were all his idea, not me. I did not ask for anything more than the meat.
All right, let's begin. Call to order. Reading of the minutes. Brandy.
The last meeting was called to, on June 6th, was called to order at 6:32 p.m. Minutes were read and approved, financials were read and approved. Lynn distributed information cards from the from the weather service on spotting and how to turn stuff in. It was announced that Steve and Ken had volunteered to run a special event station at Wings and Wheels. There'll be event QSL cards for the first 100 contacts. That's again on August 24th. And Lee announced he successfully activated a POTA station at Mitchell State Park with 20 contacts in an hour. We discussed Club Coax and we'll continue to offer it. We went through all of the swap stuff, we went through all of the field day stuff, and the meeting was adjourned at 7:35 p.m.
Do we have a motion to accept these minutes?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? That was pretty weak. You just made it, Brandy. Opposed, same sign? Oh, man.
Nobody wants our
That's always a tough one. Get past that one. All right. I think we got to do financials next.
Oh, we do? Already?
Already.
Hey, I skipped a big
Don't
chunk
worry, it
because it
takes me
didn't
about
make
5
sense
minutes
to go
to figure
through
out how
it.
to turn this the right side up. You want your second sheet first? All right.
Hey guys, pretty easy month this month. We started out with $4,057.07. We brought in $30 in gifts, $5 dues, growers in our family, 50/50 swap, 15, OX good sale, Ron Dion. So we have total income $115 in expenses, utilities to Bob Derek, that $23.22. Miscellaneous, I can't remember what that is, $16.15.
I think that was gas for
Oh, that's right, gas for the generator. We had total expense of $89.37. Our ending balance is $4,132.70. This little funny altar here, my spreadsheet, in its wisdom, just made a 7. But no 0. That's it. If you got more questions, I can bring up the other sheet.
They have it on the other side.
They've got the detail. And I gave most of it anyway.
Any questions? Do we have a motion to accept our financials? All right, second. Jeff. All in favor? Say aye. That's better. All opposed? It passes. Great. All right.
Les is the new vice president.
Let's all welcome Les. Les, we're so glad you're here. Let's give him a big welcome. Thanks for being late, Les. We really appreciate that.
He thinks he's a Presbyterian.
He thinks he's a Presbyterian.
Oh, he is a Presbyterian.
All right, let's see here.
I thought it was only Baptists that got cable in.
I think we're all in the same mode.
All right, just a few things to report. Field day was a great success. Remember, it's not a contest, so we don't worry about scores. We judge the success by the quality of the food. And this year, it was a home run again.
All right.
I don't think anybody complained about that nice brisket that was smoked for about, 10 or 12 hours. And this was like butter and stuff. So, we did make a few contacts. So, 2 meters. Chaz, one of our new hams from Lake City, used his bow fang to work a lot of DX. I think the farthest he worked was 12 feet. But that's okay, he had a blast. He made 6 contacts. And it's 1 point for each, so that FT8 Lee filled out a whole page, 40 FT8 contacts, and they're worth 2 points. So he gave us 80 points. Sideband, we had 84 contacts for 84 points. It's CW, the original digital. 176 contacts, and we get 2 points each, so there's 352. Our subtotal then is 522 if my math is right, which it usually isn't. Our bonus points, okay, we got 100 for emergency power, 100 because we had an article in the newspaper, another 100 because Rich was our safety officer, always does a great job. It's a little scary when you've got a sign on the wall that shows you how to do CPR.
Yeah.
And when he asks if any of us want to be DNR, and that's not Department of Natural Resources, folks. But, and in social media, we had a post on Facebook. So we got 400 bonus points, and an unofficial score, 922 points. And special thanks to Rich. He got to use his property, and he did a lot of work getting it ready for us. And then, I'd say Brandy, but it's really Jeff for the food. Total of 18 club members showed up and their friends to either help set up, clean up, operate, or just sit around and solve the world's problems. So, special thanks there. Now, N8NJA, our departed beloved friend Bill, we've been trying to liquidate his estate. We've got to the point where we're not going to sell anything else. I talked with Kathleen, his widow, and she's ready to just let it go. And I asked her if it would be possible to have a time when maybe for an hour or two, any club member could come out, look through the shack, take anything you want. Would there be an interest in that? Okay. Which would be better, a weekend date or a weekday date?
What's best for Kathleen?
It's up to me.
So we could-
She's going to get a dumpster in a little while and just start throwing stuff in the dumpster.
Well, you got Joe's attention.
Yeah, I heard, yeah, I bet it did.
Just make a command decision and let us know.
I will let you know. I will double check with her and pick a date, and
You never know.
maybe a Saturday after breakfast would be a good time. And just go through.
We can have breakfast.
What's left now is a lot of parts, nuts and bolts, some old test equipment, wire, coax. So, I mean, it's worth taking a look at. But after that, it's all going in a dumpster. So, all right. Now I'd like to introduce you to our newest member. This is our club antenna launcher. Bill made this, and Bob was kind enough to go through it and tell us what you did, Bob.
I modernized it.
You modernized it. You used to have a
Would you
bulb.
like me to come up there?
Please, be careful.
Oh, by the way, today is Bob's birthday, in case maybe.
Is it loaded? Oh, it's his birthday. Let's all happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bob. Happy birthday to you.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for telling us.
Now you're all done. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We feel better, Bob.
That'll work better without the cap though, won't it?
What's that? There's a reason for that.
That's
That's where they store the bullets. They're inside there. There's 3 of them in there.
Here, tip it over. Tip it over now. Shoulder. Just one. Just one.
Careful.
So there's the bullet. Got a weight in it. So when it goes over the tree branch, it comes right down.
If you put too much air in it, you can go over the church.
I forgot to flip the bail on it once, and my bullet ended up in Luther.
And so where this green valve is here, there was a PVC ball valve It was very cumbersome to use. You use it, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Difficult. Well, this is a sprinkler valve that's been modified so that when you put the pressure in here, right now, as you can see, this valve is this way. That's the safety that keeps you from hurting somebody by tripping this. This is the trigger on ours. So this is open. There's pressure in here. When you squeeze this, that releases the pressure off the top of the diaphragm, and you get an instantaneous whoosh. And the ball valve didn't work very well. So I cut the ball valve out, bought this sprinkler valve and modified it. There's plans on the internet to do this, all of this stuff. It's not an original idea. I have one that members have used before, but I have elbows here, so it's not as long. This could be modified. Anyway, when you fill it up, there's a Schrader valve, tire valve, just like it would, no more than 30 pounds. And Bill was concerned about this blowing up because he didn't realize the PVC pipe would take 380 pounds. He wrapped it all with fiberglass tape and then put this green duct tape over the top of it. He really didn't need to. There's no room in plain paper.
We were thinking of keeping it in the shed, but then you'd have to find someone with a key. We're thinking of keeping it at my place, but I live out in Oxyville. Bob is centrally located. He's the keeper of the cable. If you need to put up an antenna, a wire antenna, and you've got trees you want to get things up, it's a great tool to use, and it's yours to use. So keep it
That's what I
active.
used.
I remember a field day where our tool was a very large
Oh,
wrench.
probably 200 yards.
I don't know whether Lynn remembers the wrench.
Oh, I remember the wrench, yeah. All right. Club activities, you have them there. There's really no need to go over them other than to mention the picnic. It's always a great time. It's at the Marion Fairgrounds. Again, it's good food. Bring a dish to pass. Club provides meat and drinks. And you provide a valuable white elephant gift. Go through your junk box, find something that you want to get rid of, and one of us suckers is going to take home. All right? Let's do net controls for July. July 11. Are you up for that one, Les?
After harassing me for dragging my ass into the meeting.
Oh, I guess I shouldn't have done that. Oh, no. Oh, he's a good guy. July 18, Tom, are you going to be around?
Maybe, yeah, we'll do that.
That's a maybe. July 25, Randy? She's not sure.
I'm not
Let's have
sure
a
if I'm gonna
volunteer.
be around.
Steve's going to do it. All right. What else do we have? No old business, new business. Gordy, you're on.
Okay, I have some handouts here.
Here, I'll get them.
Last month, we discussed a new repeater system. So I've done some research. None of this is written in stone. This is all just information. Okay, approximate costs. You know, what things will be like. There's a couple options. We talked about getting another Kenwood repeater, similar to what we've got, the TTR 750. This proved to be a very, very good repeater for us. And the advantage to that, well, I'll explain that. The other option was to get a Yaesu Fusion repeater. There is a program, Yaesu Fusion repeater installation program, that ends the end of September. The retail cost on the DX2X is $1,800. The 2X LAN is $2,250. The difference is if you got internet there, you can plug it directly into your LAN to interface it to the internet, and that's an additional $450. Okay. Through the Fusion replacement program, or Fusion installation program, the DR2X is $750, and the Fusion repeater program is $900 for the LAN one. Okay, big difference in price, but that does end September 30th of this year. In addition, with the Fusion repeater, we have to add another card to the controller. That's an additional $175. Okay, The new repeaters, Fusion repeaters, and I know we discussed running it FM only. The new series will not run in FM only. They have to be run in AMS. And that's also a prerequisite to get the repeater. You have to guarantee Yaesu you'll run that hooked to the internet in AMS for 1 year. And they get it in writing or they're not going to send it to you. So, but
What kind of an internet connection do you have to have?
an internet connection
This
is,
hotspot, would that
I
work?
don't think it'd be enough bandwidth.
How much bandwidth do you need?
They say between 8 and 12
Megs down?
megs. Because there's an up and download. It's always going back and forth. I run the 440 link at my house, and I've got a 300 meg circuit there, and I think mine runs about 6.2 to 6.5 pretty much most of the time when it's running. So, I mentioned that in order to qualify for the program, we need to put it in AMS, so we couldn't run it digital only. I run the other alternative to internet at the site is to run a link system, like I do. I have a computer and radio and controller at the house that links to the 440 machine remotely. So we get that
What's
digital.
involved in that?
About $700. And those numbers are in here.
But you don't have monthly fee.
I already paid the internet connection, so
Yeah, but we don't.
no, yeah, I'm gonna cover that. So, the cost of internet is estimated to install it will be $100 and then $50 a month. So our ongoing annual cost just on internet up at the head end site, and that they haven't said that they could install it there yet, would be roughly $600 a year, which is what we pay for repeater rent.
Did you check with AT&T?
Yes, I did. I talked to AT&T and I talked to Spectrum. The link system would be required computer and a setup, an FTM 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500 radio, feed line, and antenna. So if you're going to do it remotely, that's what would be required. The one I got was donated to me to put that online. The computer was donated to me, so I don't have as much money tied up in it. And something, well, I'll mention that in a minute. And like I said, that program ends the end of September. And they've said that before and redone it though, so you don't know what's going to happen. Option one would be the repeater from Yaesu with the link radio system. If we're going to go digital, it'll be about $16.25. Okay? And that's plus or minus a little bit. It's hard to really absolutely nail things down. Option two, which would be the LAN repeater, the internet access, the additional $150 card, and estimated first year money would be $25.75. Estimated. And that's if all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed and everything works. Also, anytime you do that, we got to have a way to remote reset that, because running in AMS, Fusion repeaters have a tendency to lock up. I'm too old to walk up that freaking hill in the wintertime. So
You don't
there's
have
got to
to.
be a plan B. Now,
You
the
don't have
advantage
to.
is
You
when
can drive
they...
up there, they plow it in the winter.
No, they don't. It was only plowed once last year. I walked up that damn hill, I know.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'll take back that.
Go buy your snowshoes.
Yeah, it was both ways. But that is a known problem with Fusion repeaters running in AMS. If Ken wants to hit it with digital and Bob wants to hit it with analog and do it at the same time, it locks it up. And but the advantage is now that it continues to receive. So if we can take a receive signal off, put in a DTMF controller to cycle the power or something, then that will reset. We can do that, but we've got that additional cost to doing that. My personal opinion is to buy another Kenwood 750. We've got one. It works. I can set the controller up so it'll work with both repeaters, and we can take that other old controller out. And we already have a valid digital system up there with the 440 with a pretty good footprint.
Yes, sir, we do.
So, and the guys that bought this repeater bought it in that installation program. And I think if at the end of that period, which would be November, December of this year, we may be able to buy that 440 repeater from them, and I'll continue to maintain the link system at my house. We would have to do some programming and stuff, but then that could roll over into the club. And last time I was up there, I put it into the club's equipment rack because I was hauling cables all over and stuff, so it fits.
How much to buy that repeater, the 440 repeater? You estimate thousands?
No,
Okay.
I'm thinking 500.
Okay, cool.
So,
So this is cheaper all the way around.
yes,
Better?
no. New is always better, Jay.
Of course.
But this is,
Reliable.
logically, it makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
It meets the original question.
Yes.
That's what do we do if the repeater blows up?
Right.
The answer is
This
flip, flip the other Kenwood off.
Yep.
And call the insurance company.
Yes.
And now, if you look, the cost of the Kenwood is refurbed is $600. It's not that expensive.
Is that buying it for Pete's son?
Yep. Brad Melberg, WAQPO, has the Sherman Hill repeater and several others. Works for a company that can give me a refurbed Kenwood repeater. So mull this over. The paperwork's in front of you. I think that if we're going to go digital, we'd have to make a decision at our August meeting. And if we're not going to go digital, we can just pursue buying another Kenwood repeater and then possibly buy the 440 machine beginning of next year and kind of roll it.
Have some music for you.
AC/DC?
This is my 36, 35, 25 blind noise. 10 dB over S9.
Is it frequency specific or is it broadband?
In case you missed it, it covers the whole spectrum. It goes, but it's more noticeable on 80 and 160, 80 and 40. The upper bands, not so much. And it's intermittent. It'll go like that for several hours. Then I'll go and turn it on sometime, and it's just nice and quiet. You've even got a better one. So, we have a program that is geared just for me. I hope the rest of you like it, but it's just for me.
Did you call the power company?
Yeah, they came out and they fiddled around and they didn't have the cool equipment that your power company had. They came out and they went over by the transformer and they opened it up and they checked the contacts and said, it's not us. So, please welcome Bruce, who's normally from Athens, Georgia, but another trunk slammer coming up here. He Flatlander. He summers in Tustin and Leroy. Thanks. And he is an adult. He is an adult. It's all yours.
All right, thanks for the introduction.
Sure, that's an acceptable program.
So, for the record, Athens, Georgia is in the Piedmont region of Georgia, so it's hilly neighborhood we live in down there. All right, so essentially, this story spans about a year and a half total. From starting in the summer of 2022, I noticed that one of my receivers, and I have some receive-only antennas, and I have some online SDRs there at Tustin, and I noticed there was a lot of noise that's showing up in the 80-meter band. And so, to get your bearings here, so the hand, this is the frequency spectrum from about 3.5 to 4 megahertz. You can see these kind of ugly humps and blobs there that raise the noise floor. It's about a 10 dB noise floor at that point. I mean, annoying and the buzz of power line kind of stuff. In the waterfall, you can kind of visually see that kind of ugly stuff. I showed up there, I did the usual, turn all the circuit breakers off, let's make sure it's a real thing. Go out in the field, hook the radio up right there at the antenna, yeah, it's real. And the standard sequence, of course, is you discover some noise and you make sure it's exterior to your location by cutting off the power and operating things off a battery. And then you contact the power company. Although, really in reality, before you contact the power company, you need to do some homework yourself And that's kind of what I did, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff I did up front to kind of localize where the heck is this noise coming from? Is it the whole power line, or is it a single pole, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's a normal sequence. I'm not going to go into that. I'll talk about that a little later. So for me, round one was to, I noticed the noise, obnoxious buzz. It was both 80 and 160 meters, so kind of a harmonic type of a thing. And if you looked hard enough, you could even see it higher up in frequency from where we were. And so I started with a direction finding loop. Basically, I used something called a U-loop. It's a passive, kind of about a meter diameter antenna. I'll have a picture of that in a second here. And I used a direction finding loop along with some portable receivers. And my first thing was, gosh, I think there's a neighboring farm. They used to have an electric fence there a few years ago. It had a clicking noise, and they were the culprit then. Well, maybe they're the culprit again now. Maybe something's going on over there. I use my loop and I go over. This is about a quarter mile away from where our property is there near Tustin. And the neighbor lady, Lorna Mice is her name, is very helpful. She said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I went all over her property, had my direction finding antenna, and I actually found the smoking gun. I thought there was a pole on her property. It had all the noise coming from it. It matched the buzz I was hearing. But in reality, what that was simply that was the edge of the consumer power boundary, consumer energy boundary. Her property was the very edge of it, but the actual source was about a mile away, further on down the wire from where she was. And so eventually, after some more going around with this antenna and driving around, getting out, I figured out that the Tustin Trails golf course, that's the source of the noise. Boy, they've got a pole there by the golf course, that's buzzing away, even in my FM radio, and I thought that was it. So that's when I contacted the power company. But going back again, the loop I use was it's a U-loop antenna. It's about $40. It's passive. There's no amplifier in it, and it covers pretty much everything from long wave up to about VHF range. And so I used portable HF receivers, and I had an old scanner from Radio Shack, which it receives the aircraft band. And a key thing is to use the AM mode for all of your noise hunting, because that's where the energy really tends to be radiated in the AM mode when you have a sparking type source. And so round two was notify the authorities. So, I figured out that Consumers was the supplier utility at the golf course there. And by the way, I in all this walking around, I always put like a safety vest on, and I carried a clipboard now and then, making sure that they think this guy he's doing some serious work here and not some nut. And so I go into the golf course office and I ask them, I try to explain what I'm doing, and of course it doesn't. They think that this guy must be nuts or something. But to their credit, they humored me. They said, "Oh yeah, Consumers is our company." So I called Consumers, and it took a little effort to get through the telephone tree and to finally speak to a representative who sort of knew what I was talking about. That takes a little effort too, because this is a very much a niche problem. That they don't even, what's a ham radio guy, or what's amateur radio? Eventually I got through, and they actually got me connected to an engineer who called me up, and he said, yeah, I can meet you out there at the golf course there. We'll meet out there. And sure enough, he came out with his equipment, and what he used, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself actually. He used a parabolic dish which uses ultrasound frequencies to pick up noise coming off of different insulators or poles. And I have a picture of that in a couple of slides down the road here. And essentially he said, yeah, I can see there are bad insulators. This pole here has 2 or 3 bad insulators. I'll put a work order in, we'll replace those, no problem. Well, he completed the work order. The utility came out, did the work about 2 weeks later. He calls me up, how's it going? Hey, the noise is still there. It hasn't changed one bit. It's the same ugly noise there. So I was a little bit discouraged, but I kept working some more. And I'm going to kind of skip around here. This is actually what he used initially. It was an ultrasound dish. And the cool thing about that, which I've never used one of these before, but it's very directional. It literally has gun sights on it. You can literally look down the board of a couple little gun sights, and you can point it at a specific insulator or a transformer, and you can actually say, There are 3 insulators. This is the one that's making the noise from standing like, 50 feet away. And I thought that was fascinating. Essentially, it uses the ultrasound from the arcing of hissing, and it translates it down to a kind of an audible buzzing sound that you wouldn't normally be able to hear. So I thought that was pretty cool. He let me use it too a little bit. Say, you want to try it out? Yeah, I'll try it out. Anyway, so the other thing he used later on was actually a 50 to 500 megahertz receiver with a small Yagi antenna, kind of a wideband Yagi antenna, and that ultimately actually was the most powerful tool. The reason he didn't start with that was that piece of equipment was out for calibration when he first came out to the golf course. So all he had was the ultrasound station, and we thought we had nailed it that day. So, talked about that. So round 3, so I got out my U-loop again, and the corner by the Tustin Trails golf course is quite complicated. There's a big power substation there that goes from 200 kilowatts down to 13. There's also a gas station with a pole there. There's about 4 or 5 major poles there of 13 kilowatt energy in there. So I got up my little loop and I was going around. I was marching up and down the street, had my vest on like I'm doing serious work out there. And at one point I got a call from one of our neighbors. Neighbor said, "Hey, I saw you walking along the road. Do you need a ride home or something?" The neighbor usually sees me wearing this vest when I'm out on my bicycle riding around. They figure my bike must have broken or something. So I did a lot more direction finding, and I got myself so mixed up because I found multiple places of noise coming around from different poles. I walked like a quarter mile in each direction. Every time I'd aim it, I'd say, "Yeah, I think that pole's got more noise." And so I contacted the engineer, and he actually came out 2 more times, and now with the ultrasound and with his RF directional Yagi antenna, he found more problems. The first time he came out here, he called me back. He said, "Yeah, I went out there and I found problems on 3 different poles in that corner area." And I thought, yeah, I feel validated now because I was so confused when I was going around with my stuff. And sure enough, there's 3 different poles, and he put more work orders in to have that fixed. And then he'd call me up a week later and I'd say, "Yeah, the noise is still there. It's not gone." So I'm like, but ultimately on the 3rd time he came out for this round 3 thing, ultimately he had his the Yagi antenna with came back from calibration with this receiver, and you can tune that from 50 to 400 megahertz. And he showed me, and he pointed around, and he actually found a 4th pole, which is a little bit further away from the intersection, that had a bad lightning arrestor. And you can see the RF energy was just really powerful there, even though the ultrasound noise wasn't that great. So one of the takeaways here is that the noise from the ultrasound parabolic dish may not necessarily correlate to the actual noise you are hearing as an amateur radio operator. So that's more detail about the RF receiver he used with that compact Yagi. And a key thing there, you can't see it on the slide, but I'll point it out, is that it has an RF gain control here. And so the receiver does not have any AGC or automatic gain control. That's a key concept because in trying to locate what's a stronger or weaker RF noise source, you do not want AGC. You want to be able to actually hear the difference in this intensity or see it on the meter as you're aiming the antenna. If you have AGC, that kind of kicks in, it'll compensate. As the signal gets stronger, it'll start to reduce the gain, and it leads to a lot of confusion. So, and the other thing it had was, let's see, it's got the frequency control from 10 megahertz up to about 500 with an adjustment down here. And it's even got a preamp for the antenna that you can switch in and out. But it's a nice piece of equipment, and you don't have to buy it, but it's just the stuff I had as far as receivers was equally, if not more powerful than that. But it's a good field type device for an electrical company. Here's just a map of the property we're talking about. So our property near Tustin is up in this corner here, downtown Tustin here, about 3/4 of a mile to the south, and to the east is this gas station, Tustin Corners gas station. You've got the golf course is right up here, almost next to the gas station, and all the utility poles that we're talking about are all around this corner here. We started at the golf course, that was the first kind of a dud, and then he found 3 poles at the corner here, and ultimately it was this little blob here was a bad lightning arrestor, which was just belting out 80 and 160 meter noise buzzing away. So after that third round, it was just a great feeling when he called me up and said, I was working out there and we had a work order, it's been done, how does it look? And I go and check, yay, it's gone, I can just, it's a beautiful sight. So here's what it looked like before in terms of the spectrum and waterfall. Afterwards, it was beautiful. It just went away, and the blob wasn't there, and all kinds of signals just kind of become uncovered, actually. That said, I'm being a little bit sneaky here, because this waterfall was probably taken, 8 o'clock at night on a weekend when it was really busy with activity, and the previous one might have been more of a daytime thing, but it illustrates dramatically the effect of taking away that noise blob there. Again, a before and after, kind of to give you the visual picture. How am I doing it?
You're doing fine.
Okay, good. So the key points and learnings from my experience were being, one, patience, because definitely the needs of the many outnumber the needs of the few, to quote Star Trek terminology, because a single hand guy, I probably was the only person within I don't know how many mile radius that would even think about complaining about this. But yet, to their credit, the engineer, once we got in contact, he took it very seriously and came back for multiple rounds and kept in touch with me too. You have to have an attenuator if you're going to use any kind of a receiver and you're hunting down noise, because you need to be able to, when you get really close, you need to keep putting more attenuation, keep cutting the signal strength down or cutting down the gain until you really feel like that's really where the RF is coming from. And again, like I said, the ultrasound noise does not necessarily correlate to the RF noise, because remember, the RF can be radiated. There are many ways it can be radiated depending on the actual length of the wire, the segments we're talking about, the angles, can do all kinds of funny things in terms of what the effect of radiation is versus the actual raw noise. And if you first don't succeed, of course, you keep trying again. And one last comment here, I call it the noise blanking consolation, that one good thing about power line noise is it tends to be a regular wave pattern in terms of the audio spectrum, which means that noise blanking circuits can be quite effective actually in cutting down the noise to unblock or unbury signals there. And I didn't bring an example with me here, but in terms of the software display I had there, there's a feature they call noise blanking for the entire waterfall. And under the right circumstances, with the right kind of regular pattern noise, you can click that on, and pretty much all those blobs kind of disappear and actually reveal signals you can't normally see without doing anything other than just clicking on the noise blanking. So I gained a new appreciation for software-defined radio and some of the features built into the software. And even on like an ICOM 7300, the noise blanking feature is quite effective actually, within reason. It cuts some noise there. So I want to acknowledge Mike Corpy was the name of the engineer that came out and I worked with last fall, and yeah, I guess it was all last year. And also our neighbor, who was the very beginning point where she let me come onto their big branch property. I went all over the place with my antenna, and I thought I was so cool. I had my direction finding antenna, that first thing. Oh, I know it. That's that pole right by her barn. And that's it. So he was very nice about that. So that's pretty much that's it. I'd be happy to any questions if you want.
I've been to Roy and Laura's farm.
Oh, have you?
I worked with Roy at the vocational school. He used to be the building cave instructor.
Yeah, it's really funny. I couldn't believe. Actually, I was so shocked that Lorna Mize is still around, because she has to be 90. I don't know how old.
Yeah, Roy passed away at least 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, because literally, when I was a senior in high school at Pine River, she was the guidance counselor at that point. This is in the 1970s. So when I discovered she still lived there, I couldn't believe it, and you're very much with it too. Questions?
Thank you. No,
fascinating. I have to close with one more teaser. September 5th, if all goes well and I don't get kicked off the podium after today, I'll have another talk talking about the Whisper digital mode for transmissions. Did anybody ever hear?
I use it all the time.
Okay, you know it then, yeah. So you know it's a magical kind of thing in my mind. And so I'll talk a little bit about what you can do with Whisper, and in particular an example to tease you with is this little
map from a 20 milliwatt transmitter at my one of my locations around here. 20 milliwatts you can easily hit, like Australia, Tasmania, part of Australia, and New Zealand too. And it just fascinates me.
Play the gray line hard when you do that. That's how
Yeah,
it happens.
exactly, like a certain time of the day. And you can do some really funny, fascinating things with whisper mode. And so that's my teaser for September 5th. All right.
Any other questions?
Oh,
Last
thank you.
chance.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
All right, good job. Good job. Okay, next on the agenda. Get your tickets out. Tickets. Everybody ready?
Okay, the magic number, the last 3 digits, 043.
Yay.
All right, we are officially adjourned. If you want to stick around and talk to Bruce, do that. More cookies. Thanks for coming. Happy 4th of July. Be grateful for your freedom.
Remember.